was a typical evening after dinner. Jenna and I sat together on the couch, both worn out from the long day. The kids had just gone to bed, and the house was quiet. We had the TV on, but neither of us was really watching it. The usual light chatter filled the air. Work stories, updates about the kids, and plans for the weekend. It was a routine we had fallen into over the years, one that felt comfortable, predictable, but somehow distant. Then out of nowhere, Jenna broke the rhythm of our evening. "We need to talk about our finances," she said, her voice uncharacteristically serious. I glanced at her, surprised. "Finances?" I asked, confused. I hadn't noticed anything out of the ordinary. "Yeah," she continued, "we're in trouble. The credit card debt's growing, and we've barely saved anything." I felt a wave of panic rise. "What do you mean? I thought we were doing okay. We've been getting by, right?" Jenna's face tightened with frustration. "That's just it. You're avoiding it. You haven't noticed how bad it's gotten." She paused, letting the silence hang heavy in the room. "It's not just the money, it's everything. I feel like you're not even listening to me anymore." I was caught off guard. I had been so focused on work, on the day-to-day tasks, that I hadn't even considered what might be building beneath the surface. I felt a wave of guilt wash over me. I had been so wrapped up in work, in the daily grind, that I hadn't seen the cracks forming around me. "I'm sorry," I said, my voice tight. "I didn't know it was this bad. I just—" I stopped, trying to find the right words. "I work hard, Jenna. I'm doing everything I can." But Jenna's frustration was palpable. "You're doing everything you can, but we're in this together, and I can't do it alone. We've been living like this for months, and you haven't even noticed. I need you to take this seriously." Her words stung, but I knew she was right. I had been avoiding it, pretending everything would somehow work out. The truth was, I didn't know how to fix it. "I just feel overwhelmed," I admitted. "I don't know where to start." Jenna exhaled sharply. "You don't see how this is affecting us, do you? It's not just the money, it's everything. We're drifting apart emotionally. We can't keep going like this." Her voice trembled slightly, the weight of her words sinking in. The truth hit me like a ton of bricks. The financial strain wasn't just about the bills. It was seeping into every part of our lives. "I don't know how we got here," I whispered, feeling a deep sadness settle between us. We sat in silence, both of us realizing that our marriage had become a routine, just another thing to manage. We had stopped thriving, stopped connecting. We were simply surviving, and the more we tried to ignore it, the further we drifted apart. I sat on the couch, the weight of our conversation hanging in the air like a thick fog. I wanted to fix things. I always did. But I couldn't figure out how. The financial issues were clear, but now it felt like the tip of the iceberg. Beneath it, something much deeper was going on, something I couldn't ignore. It wasn't just the bills piling up. It was the silence between us, the disconnection that had crept in over the years. We were both tired, but not just physically. Emotionally, we were both drained. I thought about our early years together, how we had been so in tune with each other, laughing and sharing everything. It was easy back then, but now it felt like we were operating on autopilot, getting by because we had to, not because we wanted to. The intimacy we used to share had faded into the background, overshadowed by the demands of daily life, the stress of managing the kids, work, the house, and yes, the growing mountain of debt had created a wall between us. It wasn't just about the money anymore. The money was a symptom. The real issue was that we weren't communicating, not about anything that mattered. We had stopped being partners, stopped being the team we once were. And if we didn't figure out how to fix that, I knew we would lose everything. I looked at Jenna, sitting across from me, her expression a mix of frustration and sadness. She was right about so much, but I didn't know how to change. I didn't know where to begin. That's when she spoke again, her voice softer now. I think we need space. I looked up, startled. Space? I asked, confused. What did she mean by that? Not space like a break, she clarified, but space to work on ourselves individually and as a couple. We need to reevaluate what's important to us, how we communicate. We're both so focused on surviving the day-to-day, we've forgotten how to connect with each other. I was taken aback. I hadn't thought about it like that. But as the words sunk in, I realized she was right. We had become so entrenched in our routines, in our struggle to keep things afloat, that we hadn't stopped to think about what had made us fall in love in the first place. We hadn't nurtured our emotional intimacy, and without that, it felt like we were just two people sharing a house and a life, but not much more. Jenna's eyes softened as she continued. We need to focus on rebuilding our bond. We've been so focused on money, on surviving, but we've forgotten how to really be there for each other. The physical stuff, it comes after the emotional connection, but we can't ignore this anymore. The idea of taking a step back, of rethinking how we connected, seemed so foreign to me, but at the same time it felt like the only way forward. Maybe it wasn't just about fixing the financial mess. Maybe we had to fix us first. I had always been so focused on providing for the family, but I hadn't been providing for our relationship. I hadn't realized how much I had neglected the emotional part of our connection. But could we really fix that? Could we rebuild something that felt so broken? The next few days were difficult. The tension between Jenna and me lingered in the air, like an unspoken truth. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was slipping away, that I was losing her, and it terrified me. She had always been my anchor, the one person who understood me, but now I was afraid that we were drifting too far apart to find our way back. One night after the kids had gone to bed, I couldn't hold it in any longer. I turned to Jenna, my voice barely above a whisper. I'm scared, I admitted, my heart pounding in my chest. I'm scared that we're going to fall apart, that I've been failing you, failing us. She looked at me, her eyes softening, but there was a sadness there too. You're not failing, she said gently. We're both struggling, but we can't keep pretending everything's okay when it's not. I swallowed hard, fighting the lump in my throat. I don't know how to fix this, Jenna. I don't know how to make things right. I don't want to lose you. There was a long pause before she spoke again. I'm not giving up on us, but we both need to be invested in this. We can't just keep going through the motions. We need to address the things that have been building up between us, the emotional distance, the lack of communication. If we don't, it'll only get worse. Her words hit me hard. I had been so focused on the financial issues that I hadn't seen the bigger picture. Our relationship had been slowly deteriorating because we weren't paying attention to the emotional side of things. We were like two ships passing in the night, living in the same house but not really seeing each other anymore. I want to work on this, I said, my voice thick with emotion. I want to be a better partner, a better listener. I don't want to lose you. Jenna nodded, her eyes full of understanding. I want that too. But we can't fix things if we don't work together. We have to be a team again. We can't let everything else come between us. I realized then that this wasn't just about the money or the bills. It was about us, about remembering why we fell in love, about being present for each other in every way. If we didn't start communicating better, if we didn't start putting each other first again, our relationship would continue to crumble. The weight of that truth hung heavy between us, but there was something else there too. Hope. For the first time in a long time, I felt like we could figure this out together. It wouldn't be easy and it wouldn't happen overnight, but maybe, just maybe, we could rebuild what we had lost. The evening that followed our conversation was different from the others. The tension wasn't gone, but it felt lighter, as if we had started to lift the weight of unspoken worries. Jen and I had finally put everything on the table: the financial struggles, the emotional distance, the frustration we had both been hiding. We both knew that we had to prioritize our relationship, even if the outside world seemed to demand so much from us. "I think we've been focusing too much on the surface," Jenna said quietly as we sat together after the kids were asleep. "We've let the daily pressures and the bills consume us, but we've forgotten about us." I nodded in agreement, my mind still processing everything she had said. It was true. We had been so focused on surviving, on managing the house and the kids and everything else, that we had stopped nurturing the most important thing we had: our relationship. We couldn't keep going on like that. We needed to reconnect, to communicate in a way that went beyond just handling the logistics of daily life. "I agree," I said, taking her hand. "We need to focus on our relationship, not just fix everything around it. We can't let the stress or the finances drive us apart." We both knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. There were still bills to pay, debt to manage, and responsibilities to juggle. But we made a decision right there that our relationship would come first. We would work together to face our challenges, but we couldn't let them overshadow the bond we had built over the years. We needed to rebuild our emotional intimacy, starting with the way we communicated. "Maybe we need to check in with each other more," I suggested. "Be more open about how we're feeling. I don't want to be in the dark anymore." Jenna smiled, squeezing my hand. "That's what I've been asking for. Let's make a commitment to talk, even when it's hard. We can't ignore what's happening inside, and we can't fix anything unless we're both invested." We both agreed. Our commitment wasn't about having all the answers right away. We knew we wouldn't instantly solve our problems, but we were ready to take small, meaningful steps together. A step toward change, one conversation at a time. We weren't going to let the chaos of life drown out the most important thing we had: each other. As I lay in bed later that night, my thoughts drifted to the uncertain future that still lay ahead of us. Our financial issues were far from over, and there was no easy fix for the emotional distance that had been building between us. But for the first time in a long time, I felt something I hadn't in months: hope. We had started the conversation we should have had a long time ago. We were finally putting our relationship at the forefront, prioritizing it over the noise of our busy lives. It wasn't going to be easy. There were still so many things to work through. But I knew now that the key to making it through was facing things together, head on. The financial strain, the emotional fatigue, the missed connections, whatever came next, we would tackle it as a team. "I don't know what's going to happen next," I thought to myself, "but I'm willing to try." Jenna and I had both made that promise to each other. We didn't have all the answers, but we had the will to start again. The road ahead might be long and uncertain, but we were going to walk it together, and that was enough to hold on to for now. As I closed my eyes, I felt the weight of our struggles, but I also felt a glimmer of something new, something that had been missing for far too long: the belief that we could rebuild our emotional intimacy. That belief, no matter how small, was enough to give us the courage to move forward. We had a long journey ahead of us, but we had taken the first step, and that was more than we'd done in a long time. The future wasn't clear, but it was ours to face together. Even though we didn't have all the answers, we were committed to the journey ahead, one step at a time, together.